Hey Nana, you there? Oh, that's cool. Hi Aaron.
Hi.
Hello, hello. How are you guys? Let's just let people roll in for a minute. Hey Nina. Nina, are you there? I think you're on mute.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, can I catch up with you after the Zoom about your final project?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Is anyone else coming? Well, maybe people will roll
I
in.
have I have a class at 2 though.
Okay, well, I don't know what time is it your time right now?
Well it's 12:30 right now, but we can get out 1:45.
Okay, well, if there isn't enough time now, then just let's catch up later.
Okay.
Okay. All right, you guys. I guess let's get rolling. Hopefully, more people will be coming in. But let me share with you all my other screen just so you can see what I'm putting up on La Lima right now. Hold on. So, where is my La Lima? Hold on. Okay. Well, so here's what I'm putting up for week 12. Basically, I've got deadlines here for the final project. And then for materials, what we're going to be doing over the next couple weeks on Zoom and everything is going over how to write an alternative lead and nut graph for your written story, how to format quotes properly. I'm going to make sure your style stuff is together. So for these deadlines, my idea was that you should have the written story, like the alternative lead and nut graph, so the have a focus by the end of this week, but then have a draft of your alternative lead and nut graph by the time we're back after Thanksgiving, after next week. And then we'll kind of complete the going over alternative lead and nut graph together, and you guys can revise it by December 4th. I think I'm going to revise what's up here now to just say load this onto Google Docs, and then so that I can help you revise your stories with you. And then you're going to want headlines and a draft of your infographic and a final project layout by the end of that week, which is 2 weeks from now, basically. And then by the last day of class, which is really 3 weeks from now, you're going to want to submit your final project to Lima. And then you'll have time for both your any kind of revised projects and missing work, or the revised final project. You're going to want to have that done by December 17th. So then I'm adding stuff right now about infographics. I'll just probably add another two things in here, and then wrap it up with just the assignment instructions and the rubric, which you guys have already received. So I know there were, because I had maybe talked to you guys about it in individual meetings, but I hadn't posted all this yet. There were questions about deadlines, so hopefully you guys understand some of those. I mean, to put it simply, we're going to work on alternative leads and nut graphs first, and that'll be complete by the end of the week we get back from Thanksgiving, as well as headlines and a draft of your infographic. Last day of class, you have, hold on. Last day of class, you have your final project in, and then I'm going to try and give you guys feedback as soon as possible so that you'll have another week to refine that. And I think I told a lot of you guys in the individual meetings that one of the big challenges of this for you all, and I guess for me as your instructor, is that when I started teaching 200, people would just kind of dump their final project at the end of the semester, and it would be all in kind of messed up pieces, and a lot of it wouldn't work right. And so, I went back and forth about whether I should grade the deadlines earlier on. That's not good, because if I have a hard grade on your deadline for, say, the week after Thanksgiving, and you miss that, and I've already said, okay, I'm going to take off 10 or 15% or something of your final project, anything I do like that would kind of de-incentivize you to do a good job in the final project, I think. And it would also, it would tie my hands in terms of if you ended up coming up with a really good revision, which is important. So without coming up with strict deadlines that are where I'm going to grade it if you miss the deadline, the only other alternative is that I just make these deadlines clear to you all and urge you all to meet them, because if you don't, you're not going to end up with something that you're very happy with, and I'm not going to have the opportunity to help you get it right. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what was I going to say? The graphic design project or any of the other stuff that's been due? I'm going to try and get feedback to you guys about that over the weekend if I can. So it'd be slideshow, multi-track, graphic design. Okay. Nothing else. Okay. So let's start talking about infographics. I guess maybe the thing to do, I'll pull up a PowerPoint. Maybe I can make this less of a lecture and more of a discussion with you all. Let's see how it goes. Maybe I'll throw up some stuff and see if you guys want to react or comment or ask questions along the way, and we'll just do it that way. Let me share the PowerPoint. So here it is. If I make it full screen, let's see if I'm able to still see you all. Luna's really fussing today. Yeah, then you disappear, which is annoying. Okay, so I'm gonna have to, in order for me to see you, I'm gonna have to make it smaller screen. Is that, you guys can still see it pretty clearly though, right? Okay, so, because I like to be able to see you all while I talk. Okay, so this is a really simple primer on it, okay? And what I'm gonna do is, just to pull back up that La Lima page again, well, actually, I haven't posted it yet, but what I'm gonna do is, I'm going to put these up. Okay. And, oh, these are links to the examples. Hold on. Let me try links to creating. Anyway, I'm going to put up these links that you can go to for creating your own infographics. Let's see if I can try one more thing. Here it is, yeah. And I think this may be the most recent iteration. Now, the thing is that, yeah, so this is it. So what these are is these are websites where you've got to register for them, but they enable you to create like just very simple infographics. Okay, just not interactive ones for the most part, where that are really fancy. Just basically like a visual representation of information. Okay, but some of them look pretty nice. So if we go to like I don't know, Pictochart, for example, you'll see what these look like. You've seen them before. Um, and let's see if um, they have examples. So this is what they basically look like. Um, well, they don't, for some reason. Oh yeah, so here we go. They look like this. And Pictochart, if you were to go with this website, just gives you templates to work with. And so we can talk about different approaches you can take to slotting in your ideas for that. But at any rate, there are ones for creating timelines. I keep looking for a good one to make a map. There used to be Google Map Maker, and then because basically it was so bad, they got rid of it. And since then, I haven't really found a great map making one that's simple for you guys. This was the old thing. So I have to make sure that this set of links is the most updated, but I'll have this up for you guys on La Lima. I'll finish this up today. And what I would suggest is that maybe I'll create a forum. Actually, that's probably a good idea. I'll create a forum for you guys so that if they discover infographic websites that are good, you guys can share with each other. Does anyone know of any good ones offhand? Okay, so a lot of this is probably pretty new to you all, but anyway, so I'm going to be putting this up on the La Lima page today. Okay, and oops, let me pull back up my PowerPoint. So this is about this PowerPoint, which I'm also posting, is just some simple steps for creating effective ones. Okay, so the first question is just to review what is an infographic. It's a simple visual representation of information. It performs a couple of things. One, and maybe most importantly, is that it simplifies information. Two, it allows you to see what the naked eye won't allow you to see. So what do I mean by that? Let me pull up a really quick example. So that's showing an example of like something that you wouldn't be able to see microscopically. Let me ask you guys, so that it's not just all me talking. What would be an example of like an infographic being able to, enabling you to see what you can't just see with the naked eye? Think about things that you've seen on news sites or on other sites that illustrate information.
The COVID like ball with the lines. I don't know what it's called, but that.
Oh, you mean
You know what I'm talking about?
the molecule thing, the
Yes.
COVID? Yeah, okay. What else about COVID have you been able to see that you can't see with the naked eye? Do you guys remember this one? Let me see if I can pull it up because this is really pretty cool. The New York Times does really state-of-the-art, amazing infographics because they have the money and resources. But this one was
Are you talking about the map one? How you
no,
can see like the clusters?
no, but that's an example of the map making one. This is one that gives a pretty graphic example of what you can see with that you can't see with the naked eye. Oops. Right? whoa. So, and then that's 6 feet. But then what's going on there? Is it spreading or something? So is he getting it a little? Not quite. Well, he is though, isn't he? The guy who's within 6 feet, he's almost kind of getting it. This guy in the middle is walking around. Anyway, so that's one example. Can you guys think of others like that are more out of the box thinking of what you can't see with the naked eye? So here, I mean, I'm gonna just pull this up quickly. I have all kinds of examples, but I'd have to dig around to get them. So let me just throw up one real quickly that also shows it. Whoops. Wait a minute. You see these cutaways of well, here's a diagram of an archer, but like with a battleship, or they'll cut away from the size of a building to show something. Like that kind of does it a little bit. But a lot of times you'll see it with a building, right? And they'll shear off a wall of the building so you can see what's inside the building, that kind of thing. So that's another function of an infographic. So it's both to kind of simplify information, like simplify data so that you're not just looking at numbers, for example, or, you know, rather than me telling you this is going on in this part of the country, that's going on in that part of the country, I show you a map, like you guys were saying, and we pointed out graphically, or a timeline, which shows things happening over time, or maybe what's happening over time. A lot of times you'll have a slider, right? Where they'll have like you could do one on immigration where you select the country and then you move the slider at the bottom by decade, and you'll see who came in from what country over the decades. So all that kind of thing is what we do with infographics. So these are tips to kind of some simple do's and don'ts about creating them. And I created this a little while ago, mostly with student examples from past semesters. So one of the things is keep it simple. Now, would you guys say that this is a good example of a simple infographic? No, right? Like, do you even know what it's saying or doing? So yeah, so then that doesn't work, does it? Right? So here's an example of a student one, which isn't the most elegant, but can you tell what this student is trying to show, or what they're trying to do? Right. So mission accomplished there. So this was for a class where I had them create their own companies, right? Make it clear. Again, this was for a student's thing about how they were going to create an app or a company for helping out bands, like rock bands or music bands. Is this clear? Ashley, you found it clear?
I don't really know what it's saying, but it looks like it's clear.
Well, if you don't know what it's saying, that's a
That's true.
problem,
That's
right?
true. I mean, I don't know what they're talking about, but like the
Well, yeah,
graph part of it.
but that's the problem, right? An infographic is you're supposed to know what they're talking about by the infographic. You shouldn't have to refer to instructions to read the infographic, right? Can you see what they're trying to get at? What the concept that they had? Like these are supposed to be volume controls, right? Although they made two tone controls, which doesn't make any, like one should be volume and one should be tone, I would think, or something like that, even at that level, right? So on that level, for making it clear, how about this one, Ashley? Is this any? So yeah, you understand what that's getting at. It's like designed like Tinder, but it's supposed to be matching student athletes with coaches for recruiting or whatever. The only problem I have with that one is it's maybe a little bit creepy, but you know, oh well. I mean, it was a good idea. It is a good idea, right? It just might not really work in the marketplace. Um, keep it focused. Um, does anyone have any idea why I chose that image from the movie Vertigo, which is about, does anyone know what vertigo is? Does anyone know what the word means? So Rachel, what's the word mean?
Isn't it like it's just like a condition where you're like dizzy or like imbalanced? Like
When
things
you have
aren't
a
like
fear of heights and you get dizzy and imbalanced.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So why would do any guys have any idea why I chose this image as an example of keep it focused? Remember when we were talking about movie previews and I said, you know, in the old days, they used to tell the whole story in a movie trailer or a movie poster. They used to try and tell the whole plot. And this is like an effort to just in one image, like capture something about the essence of the film, right? There's a little bit like when we talked about, remember talking about the Nike swoosh as a symbol, the idea that you find some way to boil everything down, you know, for, you know, successful or not, it's the effort to do that. And then this was show things visually. I just thought this was a good example of it, obviously, where they, you know, if you're going to show the idea that people do close reading, you show a detective with a magnifying glass. I thought that was kind of clever. We talked about this for balance in terms of graphic design, right? Which is why I'm kind of pairing the infographic discussion with the graphic design discussion for the week, is that they overlap quite a bit, right? Like you have to, when you design your infographic, you're going to need to apply your principles of graphic design. So did anyone miss, I was wondering how clear I was about the idea of balance. Does everyone understand that, what I was saying about that on Tuesday with the fulcrum and the lever? Okay. And so we talked about rhythm, right? Would you guys call this a good example of rhythm or not? If you were a teacher, Carly, what would you grade this for rhythm?
Maybe like a 7.
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a low C, right? Okay. You guys agree with that, or does anyone think it's okay? Nana, what do you think?
I personally don't like how it flows.
Yeah.
It's visually not cohesive, and there's a lot of blank space that could have been used better, or just the layout could have been better to me.
Yeah, that blank space is locking it up, right? That's kind of how I think.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm like, I can see what they were trying to do to make it easy to read, but because of all of that blank space, it takes away all of that flow. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion, though.
Well, how about that? So these people were making media companies that, or websites or whatever. And this one wanted to do it on a website on paranormal. Do you guys think this has good flow?
I mean, it's easier to follow than the last one.
Yeah, it certainly is. Do you like it, Nina?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I thought it was a good example of flow. And then give it a killer headline, and then cite your sources. Okay, so I have another. Let me pull this up. We can talk about this one too, I guess. Maybe we should do. I'm just deliberating. Do you guys want to learn more about it, or do you want to try and do an exercise where you go, I share the links and you try and put them up? I could tell you more about graphic design, or I can share some links and you guys can start putting up sites. The downside of that is if I do share the links, I don't know how far we'll be able to get. Well, we probably have 30 minutes. That was a pretty quick presentation. So do you want to hear more about it, or do you want to try and play with the links? Kelsey, what's your choice?
I'd rather try and do like the exercise and apply it what we just went over.
Okay, Aaron?
Me too. I think the same.
Okay. All right, so let me email you guys this Word document, and why don't you guys mess with it? I'll tell you what, I'll just leave Zoom on, and I'll let you guys play around and see what. I mean, the thing is, it's going to take you some time to register for the sites to really get into them and see what it's about. Okay. One thing I might recommend you do is grabbing the name of whatever the application is, whatever the, if it's Canva or PictoChart, and Googling that and hitting maybe Google Images to see examples. That, because when we went to the PictoChart website, we were kind of navigating around for a while before we actually saw any examples. So a faster way to do it might just be to look it up on Google Images. But let me put this in your email. So hold on. Or you know what, let's just do it on the shared Google Drive that we have. So I'll go Google Drive. Where are we? So somehow we ended up with 2 Google Drives, which is, all right, it's already in there. If you guys go to, well, no, this is links to examples of them. Let me see what else. If I put up the creating your own. No, it doesn't look like it, so hold on. Okay, so you guys see it here, links for creating your own infographics. Go ahead and open that up and see how you do with these. I think this is, while you're doing that, I'm gonna check to make sure I don't have any that I don't have any more recent links or anything. Yeah, that's my most. That's my most recent. You know what? This is good. So this is updated. This is 12 best infographic makers. I'm going to send you guys the link to this because it goes through quickly the pros and cons of them, and it's also up to date. And you'll find these links listed in there. So let me send you guys this link. You can get in there. So there's a good list of like top 20 infographic, or not top 20 maybe, but top infographic makers and pros and cons for them. 12 best infographic makers. Does anyone have any questions about anything yet, or thoughts you want to share? All right, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give you guys another 5 minutes to look through this stuff, and ask you to think about if you can come up with one example, how you might use one for something you've either worked on before or for your final project, how you might have an idea about using one. Or I'll tell you what, either come up with a suggestion for that or come up with a question about doing this in the next 5 minutes, and then we'll go around the horn. In the meantime, I'm going to mute my screen so that I can look at stuff that Anna Mon did with her senior class about Google Tools, which is related. It's like how to import data to create infographics. Okay, guys, so maybe one more minute. Think about this when you're thinking about your stuff, if you haven't kind of zoned in or gotten a focus for where the infographic would fit in yet, what kind of factual information or data could there be in your story, and what would be, think about just that. What kind of factual or information or data could there be in your story? So let me give it one more minute. Okay, so Kelsey, do you have any ideas, or can you talk about what kinds of data or factual information you would use or you've tried to use in the past?
Well, so I downloaded or started using the Canva one,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it was pretty easy to use. And then just based off that, I could use like factual information on sports
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
What so why don't you explain to people kind of what you're thinking for your story idea at this point?
Well, now I just completely changed it. And I think I'm going to work with Carly and do it on like UH athletes and with COVID and stuff. So there'd be a lot of information on COVID and how sports are just way different this year, and maybe like mental health of how you can't practice and how sports is just kind of like your identity. Like you worked all your career and now you can't play.
So what do you think might be like, maybe if so you and Carly are working on this, is that right, Carly?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you guys think might be an interesting infographic, just theoretically, that could complement your work on it?
Maybe like the differences between other states and Hawaii, like how the mainland is doing, and like statistics on that, and if they're not playing and how many aren't playing compared to us.
Okay, so you could represent that in a statistical way. Can either of you guys think of if you just wanted to do it in just more like a non-statistical way, in terms of the facts with that aren't numerical? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Could you explain
No.
that a little bit more?
Maybe you could do it on the policies, how the policies are different.
Yeah, and I know like each sport has different restrictions right now. Like some sports are practicing and others aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, then you're into this challenge, right? Where, just to pull it up again, I'm still sharing my screen, right? Where this student found a really interesting way to represent an idea, right? And I think she and I talked about it, and I think I might have said, hey, why not you make it a Tinder app? For you guys, I'm not sure. Does anyone have any ideas if they wanted to make this really a simple representation? How they might do that graphically, like with different policies, different restrictions. Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
Well, I actually have a similar idea, like what I'm doing for my story, because
Uh-huh.
I was gonna look at how athletes are like finding alternative ways to stay connected or to like get their workout in.
Uh-huh.
So I was looking at, I think it's Easily, this website that does more like illustrations. So I was looking at like illustrations of like the different ways athletes are still staying connected. So whether they're doing like Zoom sessions and like doing book reports as a team, or like some are doing like pass the ball, like TikToks just to stay connected kind of thing.
Right. um yeah, I mean, and I wonder, I don't know, I think it's a little bit, at a certain point it's hard to talk about it, more about trying to execute it. like having a draft up there, but I wonder how you might use graphics to do that. Like definitely graphics can represent the activities, right? To some degree. So then you might be able to show it that way. Any of you guys have any other ideas about showing the restrictions? Okay, let's just keep going then. So Erin, is that kind of like, did you have any, I mean, I would say in follow-up, Erin, did anyone find other sites that she might want to look at other than Easily for this? I think, Erin, that isn't Canva pretty good with just simple graphics, you guys? Kelsey, you and Carly, you guys, well, Carly, were you looking at that? Yeah, Nana, you're saying it is? Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's the
Erin,
first time I just went on and it seemed fairly simple to use and had a variety of icons.
yeah, so Erin, I wouldn't spend too long screwing around with, oh, which website should I use, which type should I use, because if you're doing something simple and graphical, there's probably a number of different ones to do it, but definitely like PictoChart is also strong for that. So Canva, PictoChart, a number of them are pretty good for if you're just trying to do things with symbols or simple graphics. Okay. Go ahead, Erin. Are you gonna say
I
something?
was just gonna say, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Rachel, where are you at? Do you have a question? Do you have an idea for how you would use data or facts?
Yeah, I think for my project, if I did like a travel like within Minnesota one, like I'd either want to do like a graph of like or like image not images but like blocks of like different places and then like a little like quick like facts about them. Or I want to do a map of like Minnesota and then like where everything would be on it. But I had a question about that. If I did a map, does it have to like move or could it just be like points on a map?
I mean, I don't think any of you guys should necessarily shoot for trying to do something interactive. You
Okay.
know, I mean, I hesitate to be really declarative about that only because these websites are getting better and better at helping you create things. So if you can find something that's simple that enables you to do it, then more power to you, you know, but you shouldn't expect on my end an expectation that you'll find some you'll be able to create some beautiful interactive map, because as far as I'm aware, you know, I update this every semester, and as of I haven't done it yet for this spring just because for this fall, because this fall everything is taking longer with online and Zoom and everything, but as of last spring there still wasn't a good map solution that I could find. Google Map Maker stopped working years ago, and I really haven't seen. I mean, I've seen efforts at trying to create something like that, but for the level that we're at, I mean, you can create them obviously, but you know you need to basically know like coding and stuff like that to, at least in the past you did. That could change. So if I find something, has anyone come across anything like that yet? No. So yeah, I would maybe take an image of a map, and I mean, it depends on how flexible one of these other solutions is. If it will allow you to import an image in the map and then can help you do it, then I would do it that way. Otherwise, I'd maybe use InDesign.
Okay.
You know, and just shoot for creating a, what you can't upload, you guys know this, right? You can't upload a PDF and have it show up on Wix, right? But what you can do is you can create the image and then screenshot it so that you have an image file, and then you can upload that on Wix. So do you understand what I'm saying? And I don't know if, I don't know if InDesign will allow you to just directly export a JPEG, like an image of what you did as layout, but I'm not sure you can. But in any case, it's a simple thing to just screenshot it, and that way you have an image of it. So, okay, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, do any of you guys have, Rachel was gonna do like places that tourists can go in Minnesota, and she's saying a map for that, kind of a guide in a way, right, Rachel, for people visiting Minnesota.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, are you doing it sort of COVID specific, like during COVID, what people can do, where they can go within the state?
Yeah, because we just had like another shutdown, so like stuff is closing down again. So I was gonna try to find places that are like either activities or like, I don't know, but like around the state that are still gonna be like open even with the shutdown.
So this is a good thought exercise. What could she do in a simple way? You know, you guys don't have to get too complicated about it, but with something like that, if it's a map. Does anyone have any ideas? Because I was thinking you could code stuff. Oh, go ahead, Nana.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask, were you trying to because I've never been to Minnesota, but were you trying to do like more natural, more environmental places like national parks or like sightseeing kind of things for tourists? Or
Yeah, I think like both like different like lookout or like hike type stuff, and then like maybe like skiing type stuff or like places to go. Hopefully like a combination, so like outdoors and indoors and like activities and like places.
That could be more than one map, Rachel.
Okay.
And anyone have any other ideas about this? Because what I was going to say, Rachel, is that you could create symbols for the different kinds of restrictions. And then with each locale that you put on your map, you code it with those symbols. So you show the location and you show the symbols with that location. So certain kinds of restrictions get that symbol, you know. And you could maybe do a map for like outdoor activities and a map for indoor activities or something like that.
Okay, yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, again, you know, like with everything else in journalism, we're just spitballing at the beginning, and everything will change once you start getting the information itself. Then you'll really have something to work with.
Mhm.
Carly, any further? I'm just going around and you're next. Of course, you already were talking before, but any further thoughts about your sports idea and infographic?
Not necessarily about the idea, but for our infographic, does it have to be a certain size, like dimensions?
Yeah, it has to be what works well in terms of the design for your final project.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I want we'll get to this, and I'm going to try and make as much time for all these different aspects of doing a final project as I can, but you know, one very important part of it is how to get everything up so that it ties together and looks nice on a Wix page or on, you know, well, I mean, I'm assuming you're going to use Wix, so on a Wix page, right? So you and Kelsey may want to work together on creating a separate Wix site that's just for your final project, because then that would enable you to use a different template, because the template you're using for the rest of your work this semester may not be the perfect template for your final project. And then that template's going to affect your how you place and how you size the infographic, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Nina, what are you thinking?
Um, I used Canva because I'm familiar with Canva. I used it in high school, so I don't like want to switch up. But hold on, let me pull it up because I just had some good examples. So since I wanted to do my final project on like the city, I looked up like other examples of that on Canva, and then there was like one for Chicago, and it had an infographic, and it was like talking about like the architecture and the beaches and like the stuff that's going over there. And then there's other ones like with statistics and stuff. But he said like what else would you do besides statistics? So what I was thinking is like Stockton has its reputation and it's not like the best place. So I was thinking like statistically like yeah the crime rates and stuff, but if you want to talk about like the actual history of the city, it has like a lot of culture and stuff. So I wanted to focus more on those aspects of it, and I just got like a lot of good examples of that from Canva.
So that's an interesting idea in and of itself, right? Like, let's say interactively, if you could just do anything you want, and you were trying to do a website that showed a contrast between its reputation for crime and its its cultural resources and value. Can you imagine an interactive that would do that?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm thinking something like you have a layer where you look at the place, like a map of the place, and you can see it in terms of crime. And then you have a layer,
Okay.
like you click a button and you see it in terms of culture and history.
I like that actually.
Yeah. So since you're, probably not going to be able to, I mean, we can't even find a good map making website, let alone a one that's interactive like that. But since you're probably going to have a much harder time doing anything that would be interactive, you could do two separate maps,
Mm-hmm.
like side by side. Um, and I also just wanted to say, Nina was thinking in a really smart way there a minute ago. Did you guys pick up on what she was doing? She was talking about looking at other examples of infographics and the way they did it, which is something I probably should have suggested at the beginning of this, right? So if you have an idea, and you think something similar might have been executed before, hey, no harm in taking a look at other ways that other people have represented that through infographics. Um, so you got a bunch of good ideas through looking at the Chicago one, Nina?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just the Chicago one. Like, there's a lot. That was just one of the first ones that I seen. Why I used that one, but there's like one on New York too, and I don't know. There's like a lot of good examples in here. All I did was I clicked on like the part where it said infographics, and then the search thing I just put city, and then it came up like a bunch of examples.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, wait, where were you in? Were you just in Google or?
No, I'm in Canva. There's
Oh,
like a thing in Canva, and it's like where it says templates, and then I think it was under marketing. It said infographics, and then after you click on it, there's a search button on the top, and then you search
okay. So
things.
these are templates too, so that's even more helpful. So, uh, Rachel, you may want to take a look at Canva, and because that sounds like they may have a template that'll help you out for a map. Um, Ashley, how about you? What are you thinking?
I was on PictoChart and I looked up like a company report type of thing. So I was thinking about doing, hopefully if I can get like actual numbers from businesses and how their like numbers have decreased with COVID.
Okay, so you want to get into, and why don't you give these guys an idea again of what you're thinking for a final project?
So I was thinking like the harbor and charter boat owners, like business owners, and how COVID has affected their profit and just like life, I guess.
Mhm. And so what numbers were you looking at?
Well, hopefully if I can get like not exact, but just like a rough estimate of like profit before, and like during, and then now with COVID. I don't know if
Can
they
you guys
would do that, but
can you guys think of things that she can do with numbers with her story about how the harbor is faring during COVID? I'm asking you guys tough questions, but you're gonna have to face tough questions yourselves with this stuff, right? How about this, Ashley? Look at the numbers of spikes in Hawaii and look at the data for if you can get data about the profits and the businesses and see if you can put those two sets of numbers together. Like, is there, because I think you could make, and then that can bounce back then into the way that you write this all up and the questions that you ask. Because if you find anomalies, if you find big spikes going up, but business is not dropping at the same time, or business is dropping when the spikes aren't going up, which would annoy the charter boat people, then the question is, why did this happen or why did that happen? If there's, in other words, if there's a point at which they go in opposite directions, first of all, ask them what their reaction to that is. But second of all, then you have a moment that you can point to, and then you got to figure out why did that happen. And you can talk to either the policymakers or the charter boat captains about what was going on. So they may, I mean, are you going to expect that they would track exactly?
their profit numbers.
The spikes in COVID infections and the drops in their business.
Oh, I know it doesn't line up already because like my dad has more business and our numbers are going up right now, so like it doesn't line up evenly.
Yeah.
But
So so then that's so these are all, and it's like hard to anticipate. Like I couldn't have guessed that. I mean, I suppose I could have if I was smarter, but I'm not, but like um that's a question that puts a tough question to the charter boat captains. If they're saying no more restrictions, no more restrictions, no more restrictions, no more restrictions, and you point out to them, but now we're in this situation where the infections are going up, but your business keeps going up. So that would fly in the face of your complaints about everybody tying you down. What do you say to that? It's not an easy question to answer, right? You've already got people a little mad at you over there just for doing what you're doing, but it's a good question, right? It's probably one you could at least ask your dad. You can ask him the tough questions. So yeah, so that's interesting. And what I would say in follow up to this, Ashley, is that on our La Lima page, right, which is, well, you saw it before, right? I've got that La Lima page up. This one, I will put down here Ann Oman's. I was just watching it while you guys were all taking a look at the different websites, and it looked pretty good to me. It was like this woman who does who I think speaks on behalf of Google. She's a journalism professor, but I think maybe she's working in collaboration with Google to do these workshops all over the country. And she did it with our seniors, and she talks about using Google to import data and then turn it into a graphic. So, I think it would probably be worth watching that anyway. And hopefully if you watch it, it'll teach you how to like suck up the data and put it into a spreadsheet and then spit it out as a graphic. Right. So I'll put that up on this page. Do you have any questions for me or for everybody about it?
I don't think so right now.
Okay. Do you like the idea of COVID infections and profits?
To my knowledge, the at least his business isn't having like a negative effect on it, because like I'd say 99% of the customers are like straight off the airplane, just got tested for COVID and it was like negative. So I wouldn't say like most of these businesses are contributing to the numbers rising. I think
Well,
no matter, yeah.
I think then maybe that what the data will show is maybe there's progress being made in responding to the virus. You know, and you can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think now quickly about how that would play out in terms of you creating an infographic about it. But you know, like if we were to go back to March or April, cases are going way up, restrictions are all imposed, the profits go way down. Now, cases are going way up, but new restrictions are being imposed, and the graphics are going. The profits are going up. And I think what you could do is you could just show that, and then your reporting fills that in a little bit. Then the question is, okay, now cases are going up again, profits are going up again. There are these restrictions now that are enabling them to do to carry on the business. But then the question is that we don't know, is there any kind of spread that's going on as a result? Or does it have to do with just the season and other things that are independent of no matter what we do with the virus, right? Because like everywhere in the world is seeing a surge of the virus. It's just that some are doing a better job mitigating it than others, but there's clearly an underlying seasonal phenomenon or something, right? So so you know, you can't answer these things, but you can lay out the questions by creating infographics that make the questions clear. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nana, what are you thinking? Where are you at with everything?
I was going to look for examples on Canva. I used to use that too in high school, but I'm doing my final project on Trump support in Hawaii and how people that voted for Trump, how that affects our communities here because it's so diverse in the state, but also focusing on how we're considered a blue state and why people that voted for Trump want to turn it from blue to red, I guess. So I did one interview already.
What?
But I did one interview already, but what I was thinking of doing for the infographic was kind of you know how did the they broke they've had infographics like this after the election where they kind of zoomed in on the island and broke it up on different sections of the island that this community or this area is more, they vote more for Democrats or they vote more for Republicans.
Yeah.
I was going to do something like that, but taking the overall number of votes. So if it was like, I don't know, like 750,000 voted for Biden and whatever else voted for Trump, I was going to use the islands as kind of like a pie chart, but then Photoshop it to show the percentage rate between blue and red for each of the islands. But I was going to look for an example on one of the websites you provided.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it depends on how good. I might start with looking at what kind of polling data is out there, is available about the state. You know, like, can you find stuff that gets into regional differences or whatever? Were there any polls that were conducted where they asked more questions than just which candidate are you supporting? because like I could see you being able to do an infographic around if they ask different questions about why you're a Trump supporter or who is a Trump supporter.
Yeah, there are some infographics already out there like that, but none that did kind of overall the percentage comparisons to each other.
Right.
But I noticed that the communities that did vote red came more so from the higher middle class or higher income communities.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of the South Shore was leaning more towards red. There's some central areas that were red, Kapolei side, and some of the West was red, but there's like a huge significance in the type of communities and why. I think the income kind of has something to do with it too, but
So is
I
there
wasn't
pretty
gonna dive into that for the interview.
so is there pretty good data available?
Yeah, from what I've found so far.
Oh, great. So are you reaching out to the Trump campaign and the Republican committee here in Hawaii?
Yeah, I sent them an email a couple of days ago and I haven't heard back yet, so I might just send a follow-up one this weekend from the and then I also reached out to the one that you sent me.
Oh, Free Arkeiki or whatever.
Yeah. I haven't
Um,
heard anything back yet, but we'll see.
yeah, keep trying with them. And then did you find anything about that guy, that Native Hawaiian guy who's their leader?
Lopaka
Yeah.
Palani, was that it? I didn't yet. I didn't try to message him or anything on Facebook. I kind of just reached out to the organizations first
Mm-hmm.
to see if I could get a response, but if not, then yeah, I might shoot him a message on Facebook.
So yeah, but what did you say about the Trump campaign and the Republican committee here?
Well, I reached out to them just to see if they'd be willing to set up a Zoom call or a phone call or something that I can record for the audio segment of the project.
Mm-hmm. But you
But
haven't heard back yet?
Yeah, I haven't heard back yet. I emailed them on Monday.
Okay. Yeah, well, remember what I said about emails, right? They blow it off.
Yeah.
So I would call and then call again, expect to have to call and follow up call. And when they don't answer, leave voicemail. And then I would, what was the other thing? Nick Oakes, which I'll put his name in he graduated last year. He was a journalism major here, and he was the Proud Boys. He was the head of the Proud Boys here, or he still is, I guess. And he was a Republican candidate for, I think, maybe he made the national news. Let me see what it was. What that he ran for.
I think he was running for state rep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Which is funny that he made national news with it, but I would reach out to him, and also Nick would be able to put you in touch with the Republican people in town. So the sooner you can get in touch with Nick, probably the sooner you can get in touch with the Trump campaign or with the ask him, for the numbers of individuals and people you can reach direct. He's been a journalism student, so he knows what a hassle it is to reach people. So ask him for help with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he may be a Proud Boy, but he's not going to be I would ask him stuff like that before you get into questioning him, maybe, because he's not going to be a mean guy, I don't think, when you talk to him.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to, I don't want people to think I support Trump or I support Biden. It's just, really out of interest.
Yeah, and I think he'll get that. And, I mean, he's fine. Just he'll help you out if you call him, and start with those questions though. Start with asking him if he can help you know who to call.
Okay.
And tell him, nobody's gotten back to you yet, and you'd send some emails, but so that he can help you figure out how to reach them in a timely manner too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. Do any of you guys have any other questions? Because I think otherwise we're pretty much done for today.